You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the November 22nd, 2022 meeting of the LaPorte County Regional Sewer and Water District Board. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Call to order the November 22nd meeting of the LaPorte County Regional Sewer and Water District. At this time, can we salute the flag?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. President, I'm sorry if that's underneath, that's okay.
Yeah. Okay, roll call.
John Carr,
Here.
Marcella Kunstick.
Here.
Jerry Jackson is not here. Mitch Bishop.
Here.
Delia Zegas.
Present.
Mark Danielson.
Present.
Amanda Laners.
Here.
We have 6 out of 7.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes.
We don't have any today.
Okay.
Apologize.
We'll do it next month.
Moving on to public comments. This is a statement. Anyone wishing to speak needs to state their name and address for the record, and we'll have 3 minutes to speak. Is there anybody here for public comment?
My name is Tim Grieve from Saugony Lake. I have a couple of questions. I realize there's a lot of this stuff you guys can't give us an answer to, the costs and so forth, but if you can add this to the list. I was told we will have to also pay for a grinder and 2 cleanouts. If you could check and see what that's going to cost us. And according to JPR's own document, it says that we're looking at, so far they're looking at about $85 a month, if I'm reading the thing correctly, which comes out to $1,020 annually, which I understand you guys are the board, but it's cost prohibitive for a lot of people. A lot of people on fixed incomes cannot afford some of this stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Michael Caulfield, and our family has a home on Saugony Lake at 5641 East Oswego Trail. I have a number of questions. I am very unfamiliar with the project. My primary residence is in Chicago, Naperville, Illinois. I did not even know that I needed to be looking at a website or a newspaper or have any contact. And I understand that that's what the code requires, but when I pay taxes and I'm a member of a homeowners association and things like that, I would have expected someone to reach out at least once to say that we are beginning a project that is likely to have an impact on your property. So if I'm asking questions now, it's because of what I don't know. And I apologize if that takes up your time. But I'm wondering who defined and how was the scope of the project actually established? I'm not sure. Because we live about 1/4 of a mile away from Saugony Lake, and I have not seen any data or any study that suggests that the septic systems out that way will have an impact on Saugony Lake. I don't know if there's such a document. I just don't know. How was the interest determined to have this project established out at our distance away from Saugony Lake? I don't know. And in terms of the cost, my wife and I are senior citizens on fixed income. The property has been in our family for almost 100 years now. We're retired. I don't have a lot of income. We're only at the lake 7 months out of the year for maybe 3-4 days a week. And if we're going to be charged the same amount as everybody else, that's $1,000 or $1,200 that I don't have in my budget, and that's potentially going to cause us to have to sell the home. And I don't think that this commission or anybody should be putting us in that position. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Robert Smith. I live at Saugony Lake, and I just wondered how this started. How you actually picked up Saugony Lake when you were heading for Hudson Lake, because we don't have enough people that live there full-time year-round, and I guess that the people that live out of town, they pay more taxes than anybody else, but they're not able to vote on this or even get a survey. The problem with it is, right there in our neighborhood on the east side of the lake, I mean, we have like 70 homes. 27 of those are occupied full-time. We have a total number of about 58 people that live there. A lot of those are single people that live in those homes. You know, there's out of 70 homes, so you got 43 homes that are empty all the time. And you want to bring in a sewer system and without even checking with anybody to see if anybody wants to do that. The majority of the people do not want the septic system in our area. We don't need it. What we really need is we need you to actually take the money that you're spending to do this and actually take and make another division of the health department and check the lakes out. Anybody who lives on the lake must have their septic checked every year. Right now, you can't even go in and do that. I think everybody that has a home on the lake should be checked every year. I think the people that actually are in the watershed behind it, you know, for like the gentleman was talking about, they should be checked every 3 years. I don't think it's a big factor, like he said, they live a quarter of a mile away from the lake. I don't think it's doing anybody any harm. And I know on the other side, it's the same way. I know we get people that come in here and say that everybody from Saugony Lake wants the septic system. We do not. We do not want it because we actually maintain our septic system very well. And most of the people I know that live on the lake maintain their septic systems very well. But I think there should be a division instead of spending them, you know, millions of dollars on putting this system in. Why can't we start a division of the health department that can actually check all of the lakes in LaPorte County? And then we're actually putting money towards the, you know, keeping the lakes clean, safe for our grandkids and for the generations to come. This money, to me, is just not well spent. And like he said, you're sitting there going to charge people $85 a month now. What's it going to be in 5 years? What's it going to be in 10 years? How much money are you going to want? So to me, let's try to do something that's going to help the environment and start a division that actually can get in the health department that can come down there and check this stuff out. Our lake is very clean. It always has been. We want to keep it that way. But I think the money that we're doing now and forcing people to actually fill their septic systems up and bring in this sewer system is wrong. And that's a consensus of about everybody on our side of the lake that's over by Nowhere Bar. And I'd like to take the time and check it out. But right now there's a survey going on Facebook, and there's been 47 votes. 63% say no, they do not want septic system, and 37% say yes. So I think there needs to be a survey, goes out, and find out who does want this and who doesn't. And I think the people need to rule. I don't think forcing this stuff down people's throat is the right thing to do. Okay, thank you
thanks.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Joyce Forbes. I live at 7661 Lake Park Avenue, and I am on Hudson Lake. Just as a reminder to the people on the board, many of you are new, this project began way back in 2013-14, and at that time, the two homeowners associations from Saugony Lake were very much in favor of this project, and the pushback seemed to come from residents in Hudson Lake. At the time, it was determined that many of our septic systems are old, They will fail in 20 years or whatever the life expectancy, and the health department can verify that. Many of these systems have been put in well before 20 years ago. As an example, on Hudson Lake, we only have about 10% of the systems that have been put in and documented recently. Most of the properties around these lake communities are very small properties. They were designed originally as just cabins, small little homes, vacation homes, weekend properties. And now people are living there full time. There's not enough space in many of these properties to put a new system in when yours fails, which brings us to the point that we are today. Here we are, almost 10 years later, looking at this. But just as a reminder, it was interesting to note that the people before me here have said, oh, we're against this. But I was in attendance at homeowners meetings in 2015, 14, 16 at Saucony, and they were
Saucony? I'm sorry.
at Saucony. Yes, sir. And those associations were in favor of this project. So I rest my case. Please stay the course. We all need it for our own safety, not the lake safety as much as our own individual. And I would like to maintain the investment that I have in my home as well as everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I speak again? The only thing I'd like to say is we had several people from Saucony Lake that came into these meetings and said that everybody was on board with it, and that's not true. They also said that they did a survey.
All right, excuse me, sir. You don't have a mic on, so nobody can hear you. If you have something to say, we are open during public comment. If you want to make one more quick comment, that's fine.
Can I do it now?
Yeah.
The problem with it is a lot of people from Saucony Lake do not want this. There are a few that do. Those are the ones that came to the meetings. Not everybody was aware of these meetings. So we had people that came in and said that, yeah, everybody's on board in Saucony Lake, and that's not true. And then the son was supposed to have done, the person, and I know who she's talking about, but the son that was supposed to do a survey around the whole lake, everybody that we've talked to, nobody got that survey. Not a one. So I approached him on it. I asked him, and I said, you know, I never got that survey that you sent out. And he said, maybe I lost it. Well, I don't think everybody I talked to lost it. So there was not a survey. But I think if you guys really wanted to, we could do a survey out there, an actual survey where you went, take somebody to go around. We've got all these surveyors out there. We're spending millions of dollars. Do a survey. Take a legitimate census of exactly who wants it and who doesn't. And then, like she said, you know, there's people that in Hudson Lake, and I'm born and raised here, and there are too many homes down there with people that have moved in. But you know what? They can do a self-contained tank, and they can actually put it in. They're not going to be, you know, if they don't have enough room, that, you know, it needs to be decided. But the thing of it is there are ways around having to do stuff. But if you have that many people living year-round, the septic system's a fine thing, because the lake is the main thing that we have to protect. But in Saucony Lake, we don't have enough people to live there year-round.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else under public comment? Got somebody online?
Hi, yes, I'd like to make a public comment. This is Tom Lodi at 5522 East Winona out in Saucony Lake. I am the president of the Liberty Bell Homeowner Association. We represent about 180 property owners, which is the larger of the two homeowner associations. We've been, as Mr. Smith mentioned, we did send out a survey back in 2015 before he lived in his house, by the way. Which would probably explain why he didn't receive his.
We had mail come in 2013, Tom. Like, done.
So I'll double check that date. The survey that is on the Facebook, which we all know Facebook is perfectly safe and reliable, and there's nothing but facts there. That's sarcasm. there's about roughly 50 people that have voted. And you don't have to be a property owner to vote on that survey. That's about 18% of the homeowners or property owners in Saugony Lake. So it's not a fair representation. However, I do agree with Mr. Smith that a survey is a great idea. I think we should do another one and see what the people think. As you know, we did the survey last time. It was just under half people supported it. And since then, I've talked to several people that are in favor of it. I know our home association has been mailing out letters. It's included in our annual newsletter. We spoke about it at every meeting, which are twice a year. The homeowner association is the larger one, and it's on the west side of the lake, is definitely in favor. I know the president of the homeowner association in Villa Beach is in favor. I don't know if the entire association is. I know that with the 180 members of our association, that's over half of the people in Saugony Lake.
No, not all.
We know that there's only roughly 10% of the septics in Saugony Lake on file at LaPorte County Health Department. We know that one of the neighbors have E. coli in their well. We know that one of our neighbors had problems with his septic, had it dug up, and found it was 2 55-gallon barrels. You know, these aren't good things. These are all bad things. We know that our association had worked with the health department to get the septics tested with the dye test and put the dye in the toilet to see if it comes out in the lake. And we had a resounding folks that were on the lake that decided not to and cursed us out and told us not to come around. So these are the folks that we want to get voluntarily to join the sewers, right? They're right on the lake. We're trying to keep the lake safe and clean. We do know that we had an algae bloom on the lake. Algae blooms only occur from E. coli. We know that one of the sources of E. coli could be septics leaking. We know that it could also be wildlife. It could also be farm runoff, and it can also be, regular runoff of fertilizer on grass. Ruling out the septics, that would be a great thing. Is it caused by septics? I don't know. These are all the reasons why I think septics are needed in Saugony Lake, and maybe not today, but for the future. I have no comment on the Hudson Lake situation. I don't live in Hudson Lake. I don't represent them. I do represent the larger of the two homeowner associations, and we are in favor of septics or sewers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else under public comment? No more public comment? Public comment's now closed. Moving on to reports. Steve Carter, Claims and Finance.
We have financials for the month of October that our bank reconciled for both the Rolling Prairie service area and the Toll Road service area. Fairly normal month. For Rolling Prairie, we had receipts of $12,200, operating disbursements of $5,900, a little bit of interest income. Ending balance for Rolling Prairie in total was $27,375. On the following page, you'll see the breakdown of that. Made transfers to the debt service reserve account and to the bond and interest account. $19,368 in the O&M fund, $1,983 in the debt service reserve, and $6,024 in the bond and interest account. For the toll road, we did have the one receipt from the Toll Road Authority of $26,960. Disbursements for the month of October, $18,050. $731 in interest income. For a net positive cash flow of $9,600 for the month. Total ending cash, $437,758. Of that amount, $253,183 was in the Hoosier Fund, and the remaining $184,574 is in Horizon checking account. I guess of note, that Hoosier Fund, when we first put that money in there, was making like 0.3. It's a daily rate. Now it's like 3.65. So you're starting to see a little bit of pickup there in interest income. Claims are also attached. I guess before I go to claims, maybe we'll pick this back up in new business, but there was some discussion about possibly looking into budgeting for the following year, and a question came up as to, historical financials. And just so you're aware, the way that I lay these out, there is 3 years of historicals, so you can see them side by side going from left to right as a kind of a metric or progression for you to look at the current year. If we do go forward with like a formal budget that's adopted by the board for the next year, then I could add a schedule that shows like budget to actual for the year, that kind of thing. Claims. We do. Yeah, go ahead.
Some of the board members weren't aware that was on our pre-agenda. We talked about it, Steve, so
Yeah.
I was just going to clarify. I think what we're going to do is, so Marcy has a better understanding of what we're looking at and what we're reviewing, and John, I think we're going to set up a meeting for all of us, and maybe even Barry too, so that we can all get a real good grip on where we're coming from, where we're going to, so that we can start looking into, how all of our expenses and all of our everything has been increasing over the years.
Yep.
And we need to get, maybe a budget that we're reviewing every year.
Absolutely.
So that we're paying attention to everything that's going on. So that's what Steve was referring to.
Thank you. Yeah.
Any other questions before we move on to claims? Claims for the month, we do have a couple of adjustments here. The invoice for Barry, I believe it's number 28,810 for $525, is being moved up to the Hudson-Saucony project from the toll road to be held for payment up there. The other two claims will be paid, assuming they're approved. And then one late addition came in from Michiana Insurance as a supplemental to your existing policy. I believe it's adding some assets from Phase 2 for $616. So the total then would be $68,389.66.
Steve, sorry, we need to add those other reimbursement properties.
Do you have a total for that?
I think there's another 8 of them.
So 8,000.
Yeah, we already approved the other ones that I need the checks for. I don't know if you want to do them separate or on here. Sorry.
We can add them in. So that would make the total $76,389.66.
Make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve the claims
Second.
and a second. Are there any questions on the motion? Proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by the word aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Moving on to Asbury.
Hey, real quick here before Asbury gives their report, we have Georgette Joyce here in the Zoom call. She wanted to speak during public comment. She entered it in via text chat here, but I don't think any of you guys saw that up there. So
Nope, I didn't.
Georgia.
Okay, you have 1 minute.
It's like that time.
Oh.
Is she texting or is she?
Georgette, do you have anything to say?
Is that the text on the?
Georgette, we can't hear you if you are trying to talk.
It says her mic's not
Mic's
working.
not working, so she's not
yeah, she says her mic's not working.
Okay.
Okay,
make a comment.
sorry about that. Okay, moving on to Asbury.
Good morning, Chris Vogel here with Asbury. I really don't have anything to add to the report that Tom Asbury submitted. We did have sludge hauled. We do have a situation with the flow meter at the waste treatment plant. I'm working on a couple other items. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Asbury?
Let's see. In your packets, sorry, Chris, I'm going to go through a couple of these things real quick. In your packets, if you recall, I had sent out an email so we could get the work done at the wastewater treatment plant and the water plant because due to weather. And you guys we kind of informally approved, and those two proposals I had included in your packet just so we could.
In regards to the roof?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I believe, Chris, that was all taken care of, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just formally bringing them to the board. Barry, do we need to formally?
So did we approve the exact amount in those?
I think so. I think we just need to make a motion and approve these two proposals formally.
So that they have done the work?
But the work's done.
Mm-hmm.
And
The work is not complete as far as I know.
Oh, okay.
They needed to get a signed proposal so they can order the parts and reserve the time to do it.
I thought did you sign it and give it to him?
Yes, I did sign it and forward it to him. He does have it, so I think they're in the process of ordering the parts that they need to do the work, and then wait for no snow, I guess.
Okay.
I would go ahead and take a vote to approve both of the proposals.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, you can do it on the same motion, obviously.
Okay, looking for a motion on the proposals for the getting the roof fixed. It's your pleasure.
Motion to approve. Second.
We got a motion and a second to approve the proposals for the roof work. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by the word aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
John, I just want to make sure I let everyone know I am not approving or declining.
You're
Mark
abstaining?
abstained.
I am abstaining.
Got it. Okay. Other than that, I have the 2 months from Asbury. Let's see. Did anybody go through this? I don't think. It looks like Chris, Sewage Works flow meter stopped working, and you have a quote for $900 for the repair.
I don't know if that's a quote. That was an estimate for the part. So once we get the part in, and we'll be sending a proposal or a bill for the total. But that's more of an estimate than a quote.
For labor.
Oh, it says a quote for approximately $900 for the repair, so I wasn't sure.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I don't know if that's a hard number. $900 is not a written in stone.
Okay. I just didn't know if we need to approve that or you guys are just taking care of it and.
Yeah, it has to be done. It has to be taken care of. So.
Right. Absolutely.
Just curious, like in the Asbury claims, there's one from 11/14 for 12/5. What is that from the removal of the sludge? Chris?
No, that one was for the ferric chloride.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? I know Jerry's not here, but I'm assuming he'll review everything. And anybody have any more on Asbury stuff?
I do not.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay, let's move on.
Thank you.
APR.
I do not have anything other than we already did the customer reimbursement stuff and billing collections all the same. So nothing other than what you've already seen.
Any questions for JPR?
No.
Okay, moving on to phase 2 update.
Hey there, guys. Can you all hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, awesome. So in the board packets that Jennifer printed off for you and emailed to you, we included a draft of the asset management plan that we've developed in addition with Steve Carter. This is just a draft of the report. The final will be worked on over the coming weeks here. We put together the technical and managerial portion of said report. Essentially, the technical section includes an introduction to the system, includes some system map and an inventory of assets. What we did is looked at all of the district assets as far as there's a list in the report that lists gravity storage, force mains, valves, manholes, treatment plants, storage facilities, flow meters, pump stations. All facilities owned by the district were accounted for. They were then looked at on an individual basis and ranked based on their probability of failure and their consequence of failure to determine the criticality of each of those. So essentially each asset was looked at, its condition was looked at and was evaluated based on a scale of 1 to 5, whether it was improbable or imminent that failure was likely to occur. So a 1 would be, something that's brand new in the ground, no real reason to believe it's going to fail soon, and imminent would be imminent. Consequence of failure is then a scale applied to these based on how much of a disruption would the failure of that object cause on the operation of the system. Again, a scale of 1 to 5. So took those two numbers and
Dan?
multiplied them
Dan?
together to come up with a criticality rating for each object that sort of creates a priority list. Jennifer,
Can you share your screen with the report? I only printed off
Yeah.
the financial.
yeah, no problem. It says that I have disabled, that the host has disabled participant screen sharing.
Let me figure that out.
Sure. It's not super critical, this portion, to be actually looking at the report. I'm just kind of explaining how we determined criticality of each of these.
Okay, go ahead.
Then we applied a cost to each one of those items in current dollars to replace each one of these pieces of the district's assets in order to kind of calculate out what the annual cost of replacement of the system would be. Then that information was delivered over to Steve Carter to work on creating a capital improvement budget, an annual capital improvement budget to handle these replacement projects in the future. Steve, you want to touch a little bit on that?
Sure. So my role will be to take the asset replacement schedule as identified by JPR and schedule that out over a period of time. 20 years is what the plan calls for, and then develop a way to anticipate how the district's going to pay for those improvements. So at this time, I've taken a fairly basic approach of just assuming that as the replacements come due, that the district would pay for those out of rates and charges. Obviously, as we move into the future and the actuality of those replacements come to fruition or don't, then the plan will be developed at that time as to what makes best sense, whether to fund those on a pay-as-you-go basis or whether it makes sense to bundle some of that together into a bond issue and spread that out over time. But essentially, the idea is to take a look at that replacement schedule, do a pro forma of your existing operations, some inflationary adjustments and other adjustments based on assumptions moving forward of your operating budget, and then see how that turns out. So the plan as it is right now, we'll finalize, as Dan said, here in the next couple of weeks, and make sure that everything lines up with, between the JPR portion and my portion, and come up with a plan that can be submitted.
Also, kind of piggybacking on that, in the next couple of weeks, I'd like to recommend that between the district, JPR, and Steve Carter, that we hold a work session, like an in-person work session, to sit down, look at the asset management plan inventory that we've developed and the cost schedules that Steve's developed, to basically make sure that we're all of the same understanding on everything, and we can kind of work through everything in real time. What would be everyone's thoughts on that and availability to do something like that in the next couple of weeks?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that'd be
Absolutely.
beneficial. Get this wrapped up.
Okay. You want me to spearhead putting together a meeting? I'll reach out to all the board and see which members would like to attend, and I can set something up here in the next couple of weeks.
I would recommend, so you want board participation?
Yes.
Yeah, so I would think, because you're talking about kind of a nuts and bolts asset issue, correct?
Yeah, right. I want to make sure that the board understands this this inventory and the schedule of estimated improvements required.
So I might recommend that be referred to the engineering committee.
That's a great idea.
It avoids, open door issues because there's only 3 members and it's kind of engineering stuff. So
Sounds good.
Okay, I'll be reaching out here in the very near future to set said meeting up. I think that Steve may need a little time to crunch a few more numbers beforehand, but we'll look 1 or 2 weeks out to give him some time to wrap that up prior to meeting here.
Yeah, I think safely for me, middle of next week would be fine.
Jennifer, can you remind us who's on that committee?
It is Jerry. I have to look it up, I think, but it should be Jerry, Mitch,
I don't know who the third is.
and
Was it me?
John?
I think John, and I think you are the alternate.
Yeah, that's fine, because I would like to make sure those 3 are definitely in attendance
Yeah.
at that meeting.
Or
So,
you and Mark are the alternate,
yes.
something like that. I think it's, because I know it's Jerry and Mitch.
Okay,
Absolutely.
okay. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, so in the meantime, please feel free to review that report prior to that meeting so that you kind of understand the process going in, but we'll kind of do a review of it during the meeting.
Financial, got it.
Okay, so then we'll have Steve and myself, Jerry, Mitch, and John. And then if one of them can attend, we'll have Marcella or Mark. And then Barry will be if we feel the need.
Yeah, I don't
it's-
know enough about what Dan is envisioning. If it's more of a nuts and bolts kind of, if there's really no legal aspect to it, I don't want to spend the board's money.
Okay,
I don't think there is.
so I think just
It
with
is.
Steve and Dan.
It's nuts and bolts and cost. That's it.
Yeah, I would rather spend the time looking at the actual language of the plan itself and
Okay,
leave the detailed numbers to Steve and the board.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Good.
All right, so yeah, I'll reach out here in the next and set up a meeting here in the next week. You think there's probably a good likelihood that Jerry would be able to host that at the treatment plant conference room, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yes, talk to Jerry. I'm available all next week except for December 1st on for 3 days. If you need me.
All right, sounds good. All right, then if you guys don't have any other questions about that, or are we ready to just jump over to Hudson Saucony?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Steve, it looks like the first item on here is something for you.
Okay, so term sheets are sent out. I've been in discussions and contact with most of those, if not all. I think I've been in contact with 6 or 7 at least. Anticipate at least 2 bids tomorrow. The only thing I need from the board is I need someone available, whether that's John or Marcella, to confirm a bid tomorrow. By confirm, I mean just say, yeah, that's the bid we want, and then we can move forward based on that.
Okay. Yeah. Should be available. Just in an email or?
Phone call.
Phone call? Okay.
Do we not, that's not the formal acceptance per se of the action, I mean.
So I sent out a bid form along with it for which I'm going to have each bidder sign.
Right.
And then the one that gets accepted, I'll need a board member to sign that acceptance. There's an acceptance signature at the bottom of each one of those.
So my question is, though, do you need, or do we need board motion rather than?
No, I think we addressed that in the working group meeting. I don't think it was at the last meeting, but Randy addressed that issue, that it is, the board has effectively already adopted a bond ordinance that authorizes the issuance of the debt. And so that they can designate one person as a signator for the board.
So should we do a motion now designating that person? Should we do that, Barry?
Yeah, I would say you could designate any of the officers.
More than one?
Pardon me?
More than one person?
I typically, if you were a business, you never know, somebody gets sick, you know, I mean, I would hate to try and scramble to have another motion, so I would designate really any of the board's officers having the authority to sign the bid sheet.
Sounds good.
If it were me.
Someone make that a motion?
I move that all of the officers are available to sign the bid sheet.
I second.
Second.
We got a motion and a second, 2 seconds, to make all the officers eligible to sign the bid sheet. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by the word aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Then along with that, we'll need to set up, I'll have to work with Jennifer to set up a new account at Horizon to deposit the money in. What we do with that money after that, I think we can discuss, you know, with Marcella, John, on what makes sense as far as whether we want to move some of that money to be invested at a different place before it gets spent, or whether there are options at Horizons that make sense. But, I mean, with that much money sitting there, and I know there's going to be some initial expenditures, I think we want to try to maximize interest income off of it to offset and arbitrage the rate you're paying on it. So just so you're aware, those are issues that we'll have to work through here in the near future.
Okay.
I know, Barry, too, that Randy sent in an email asking if you wanted closing documents sent to you for signing. Do you want me to get that so I can chase everyone down and get signatures? How do you want to?
I see that came in after I left the office, and I didn't respond yet, but I would like to see them. I wouldn't want them sent to me. As long as I can see them, yeah, you or somebody else is probably better to physically collect signatures.
Hunt 'em
so
down.
you might, exactly, hunt them down.
Yeah, absolutely. You have
If you beat me to the response, you can say send whatever originals need to go to you and just copy me.
Okay. Yeah, I can reply. I just wanted to check with you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on.
All right. I didn't actually see any attachment on proposed timeline.
No, I didn't attach it. It's the same one. Sorry, but it's the same one.
Yeah,
I
it's same as last month.
Nothing's changed.
Yeah, we're targeting a December 7th closing, meaning funds will be on hand on that date.
Asset management plan, we kind of already touched on that. That plan is due to be in place by June 2023 for the.
Actually, Dan, we discussed that at the pre-agenda meeting, so not all the board is aware of that. So if Steve or you want to discuss that, we have to have another asset management plan, not the one we're already currently involved in.
it's an update to the current one.
Correct. So for SRF, for future projects, the SRF says that your asset management plan has to be on file prior to closing as opposed to prior to final disbursement being made. So it just jumps the timeline. So when we anticipate moving forward with Hudson Saugony, it would have to be done at the time of closing. So we're just anticipating that'll need to be updated before June of next year.
Dopey, didn't something come in the email though? The other asset management plan? Did it?
That was Rolling Prairie, and that's the one we're talking about earlier. But then in addition to that, once we get this one adopted and completed, we'll be doing yet an update again by June 2023, which will include the Hudson Saugony. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, so you guys understand the asset management plan that we put together for the Rolling Prairie project includes all of the district assets in it. So that includes the water filtration plant, the treatment plant, all of that. It's not just for the Rolling Prairie project.
Okay.
Anywho, moving on, I just wanted to give you guys an update. We're continuing surveying efforts with doing collection of existing utilities out there. I believe all the project areas have been flown and mapped. And we've started working on setting up our project plan and profile sheets for the alignments throughout the project. In the last month, we established the proposed contract designations for each of the projects in Hudson Saugony project, each of the contracts in that overall project. Jennifer, do you can you enable screen sharing or pull the?
I wish I could.
Alternatively, you could just pull up the map yourself.
I'm not at home, so I can't pull it up here.
Okay.
How do I do the screen sharing?
I don't have the foggiest clue. I don't ever use Zoom.
You make them a co-host because that would be right there.
Maybe options at the top.
Make host. Go down to make host one more. There you go.
Yes.
Hit yes, and then he'll be in charge.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay.
Is it recording still?
Yeah.
All right. You guys see this okay?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So this is the proposed contract breakdown that we're looking at for the Hudson Saugony project. So what we're looking at is breaking it down into 5 separate contracts to kind of help reduce the scope of some of these contracts to be able to get more competitive bids on them, and also to allow for maximum flexibility in project financing post bidding. And what we're looking at is contract A would be the wastewater plant work. You're going to have a separate contractor that's going to want to do that type of work as opposed to that's going to want to install pipe and pump stations. Contract B is going to be both pump stations and the mainline force main between them running to the treatment plant. Again, that's a different kind of contractor than would typically go for pressure sewer projects. Contract C would be the Saugony Lake area. And then D and E would be the Hudson Lake area. And the reason that the service area looks kind of weird here, you see you have contract D is this area that kind of wraps around the east end of the lake and around the south side, and then E is this section. Section E is kind of sparsely populated. It's not as densely populated as the rest of the lake is, which may result in some higher costs per connection than the remainder than contract D would. So we recommend breaking that out as a separate contract. So there'll have to be some coordination between contractors in order to build this, but this is what we're proposing as our breakdown. So we could potentially get 5 different contractors building this project at any given time. Do you guys have any questions?
Any questions?
No.
Okay.
All right. There we go. Other than that, I think that is about it until engineering committee discussion.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
Next.
Moving on to executive committee.
Skip it.
Nothing. And look at where we're at. Engineering committee. January 2024. Is that right?
He can make you the host again.
I just
Yeah, I think we're looking at setting up a engineering committee meeting here in January 2024. Actually, that should say 2023, not 2024. January of next year for a couple of hours to discuss some of this project-related information that's going to kind of dictate the way the rest of the design goes. The first option is our grinder station location policy. The project was budgeted with the grinder stations being installed on private property, and we just need to set some guidelines on that as far as how far into the homeowner's property are we gonna set as a maximum for lateral lengths and that kind of thing. Then the other option, the other item to discuss at said meeting is equipment pre-selection. I don't know if has Steve Henshin discussed this with you guys at all?
No, we haven't
Sorry?
discussed anything. That's why we're going to have the meeting.
Okay, so essentially what equipment pre-selection is this is where we would put certain pieces of project equipment out for public bid prior to the bid of the project so that we can then pre-select the equipment that we're going to base our design around. So for example, and this goes for both the pressure system project and the wastewater treatment plant project. So like, for example, at the wastewater treatment plant, we would want to pre-select Aeromod potentially as a vendor for the treatment plant equipment since it's an expansion of their existing system. Another option here would be if you want to pre-select pump stations and controls. So what we would do in this example is we would put together a series of technical design information on the pump stations as far as pump rates, hydraulic conditions, design requirements, things like that. And we would send these out to various vendors, say, 4 or 5 different vendors. This would be publicly advertised. And we'd give these vendors approximately a month or so to put together their own price proposal, which we would then use their pricing to put directly into our bid documents when it comes time for bidding. And this would not be the district purchasing this equipment. What this would be is the vendors of said equipment would be required to enter into an agreement with the contractor to have that equipment purchased at that price.
Would somebody on the board look over that as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be an engineering committee type of thing. Like, essentially what would happen is we'll meet with the engineering committee. What we'll discuss is what we want to pre-select, what equipment we want to pre-select. Then JPR will put together pre-selection packages, send those out, and then those would get returned to the engineering committee where they would be scored by the engineering committee. The way scoring typically works on these things are price is not the only thing that's going to dictate who's selected. So we also tend to look at ease of maintenance and operations, how close the nearest service center is, how robust the warranty that they're offering is. Each one of those can be customized and weighted to allow for scoring. Cost is one of those, obviously, but it's only one piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
And you've done this before in other projects, exactly?
Yes, several times.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, it's worked really well. It's allowed us it's allowed us the opportunity to know what we are designing around going in.
Okay, any questions?
If you remember when you did the engineering SOQ and stuff, and you had that bid sheet or the review sheet and stuff, it's a lot like that, but it's a lot more technical.
Okay,
Sounds like fun.
great.
Okay, moving on. New business. Next meeting, December 27th, 2022, in person and Zoom links.
27.
That is a Tuesday. Pre-agenda, any questions on that?
No.
Comments? Pre-agenda meeting and attendees, John, Marcella, Steve, Barry, Steve, Randy, Jennifer, December 20th at 9 a.m.
Yep.
Any comments on that?
Wait a second, I want to put that in my calendar.
Sounds like fun. 12:20, what is that, a Thursday or something?
20.
That's the Tuesday before.
Okay,
We'll always have that the Tuesday before,
gotcha.
and I will send out that notice for the meeting. If anybody can't make it, let me know, and we'll try to reschedule or
Okay.
move it up or down, depending on meetings and stuff.
Okay.
Okay. Next thing is Whisper Isle subdivision, December meeting.
Yep, we'll bring that up next meeting. I just wanted to get it on the agenda, so I had it there.
Okay. Next one is internal control policy.
We will be starting that and working on it. We just put that on there, so it brought it to our attention to continue working on that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, John.
Do you want to say?
I don't know about the Whisper Isle subdivision. Maybe you guys talked about it in the pre-meeting or something?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, so could you?
Yeah, there was a subdivision off Highway 2 that was requesting some help with their septics.
Okay, thanks.
The engineers are going to check into it. We just wanted to put it on there, so we kept it on the agenda. But we won't have any information until next month.
Okay, old business.
Back to new business for a second. This came out of the working group meeting that we had, the pre-agenda meeting. There was some discussion about the need to explore a budget, so just wanted to bring that to the board's attention, that I think we'll put together a working group between myself, Jennifer Asbury, Marcella. I'm not sure who else needs to be on there to come up with a budget for the upcoming year.
I had it written in, but I thought you already covered it. So.
Just want to make sure.
You want me to add it on there?
Sounds great.
Before we get too far, I didn't know if you wanted to address the written comment, public comment that's on the Zoom there.
Yeah. Do you want Asbury in then on the budget thing too?
I think from an operational standpoint, we would definitely want to get their feedback on
I think
things
that's
that
a
they
good
see
idea.
as far as replacements and improvements, because some of the, like the ferric chloride and things like that, I didn't see coming. It was probably discussed, but I mean, those are fairly large items that we need to
I
account
think,
for.
yeah, we're getting a lot of expenses that way that are really adding up, and that's one of the things that I had noticed that keep.
Right, and sludge removal, that's probably going to have to be done soon, if not regularly, and I mean, just
Yep.
things like that we'll need a budget for. Yep.
I think you're right. I think that's important.
I just want to know why the way, it's low, then it's high. I'd like to know what the differences are.
I think that's
and when they're coming.
Yep. Agreed. So, just like a work session and see if we can get all of us together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on. Old business.
I think since she couldn't use her mic, she had that.
She had a question up there.
Put her information up here.
Could you read that,
Jennifer?
Phil?
If you're closest and can read it, you may
Sure.
want to read it into the record.
So her comment, her mic wouldn't work.
And this is Georgette Joyce, correct?
Yeah, Georgette Joyce. Her public comment was, I am for sewers. There was a public meeting in June. There were quite a few options shared for financial help. Maybe folks should look at the minutes from that. Hudson Lake had a study done in 2008, and we had only 7% of septic systems documented. Documented? Let me see here.
That should be 18. She's got a typo there.
Oh, okay, 2018 apparently. Not having sewers has impacted the ability to sell and improve homes. We need septics. It is a health issue for people and the lake, not a popularity issue. We need sewers. Sorry for the miscomment above.
Thank you.
That's it.
Right.
Thank you.
Back to old business. Anything? Jermit?
I guess, well, I'll give you a quick update on
extend it a little
the
bit.
421, 300 North, 950 Sewer and Water Project, the south of Michigan City. That's through the Redevelopment Commission. Just wanted to give an update that the project is taking a little longer than expected there because we have a hard time getting ductile water pipe. That's 9 months out. So we still haven't received all the pipe yet. But it's anticipated it's flowing in, and it's anticipated that the construction will be done by May, June next year. So.
Is there an update on your, the truck stop over there? Is there any?
It's probably gonna have to wait till then.
That's the, Love's Truck Stop you're referring to. They want to open the doors for public in January of 24.
Okay.
So if we get done with the sewer and water project by May, their construction time, I believe, is 8 months. So,
And
see.
related to that, Jennifer, I think I sent you a proposed resolution last week, and I'm happy to resend it. I mean, you get a lot of stuff coming in regarding our kind of approval of the project going forward in our jurisdiction.
Right. Like
I'll resend it.
Jurisdictional exceptions.
No problem. And who knows? Maybe I did. There was a lot going on last week.
Yeah, we
so-
had discussion before
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. So much like we did for the Franciscan project, which is technically in LaPorte County, technically within our jurisdiction, the Redevelopment Commission and the Michigan City Sanitary District, who are really more involved in, they were involved in that project. They're involved in leading this project. They want our blessing or okay to allow Michigan City Sanitary District to handle the waste in what is our geographical jurisdiction.
Yeah.
The board has previously said, we don't have an objection to it, but they have asked for a formal resolution, and so I've drafted one. I'll send it to Jennifer, and then maybe we can vote at it at the December meeting.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I don't recall it,
I'll
but
resend it.
Okay.
No problem.
thank you.
Okay, anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to adjourn. Any questions on the motion? Proceed to vote. All in favor signify by the word aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned.